When everything seems lost,
The boy that had no cool.
a new image
Girls need a lift?
What is this?
I'm car guy.
brings new opportunities,
Xander, one of these days you're gonna get yourself hurt.
dangerous opportunities,
Are you scared?
Would that make you happy?
and all new Buffy.
Hello and welcome to this week's. Whoa, what was that?
that was me drumming on my desk.
Wow. Where was I? Yes, welcome to this week's edition of Slade, the Buffyverse Revisited. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Jeremy,
I'm your other host, James.
and James is also a drummer on at night. He goes to gay bars and plays drums.
on
Nothing wrong with that.
on men's asses, on
Oh,
their ass cheeks,
Can I?
like the bongos.
You think I could maybe go with sometime?
Sure, we do. Come up to Chicago from Indiana. I'll take you out to Boys Town.
Oh, Chi-Town, here I come. What? Anyway, this week we will be snorkeling into season 3, episode 13, the Zeppo.
That's a problem because I don't know how to swim.
You don't know how to swim?
I don't know how to swim.
So if you fell in, like, let's just say 7 feet of water, you're dead.
I mean, I might be able to figure out like how to tread water long enough to get myself back to shore. But
I don't think I've ever known anyone my age that doesn't know how to swim. That's really weird. Huh. You were abused as a child.
No, I was not.
Okay, well, I guess everybody has their weirdness.
What's funny though, I love being by and on and in the water, even though I don't know how to swim.
So you're not scared of the water.
Oh God, no.
So if you got dumped in 7 feet, you wouldn't panic and you
No.
don't think?
I
Okay.
would no.
Well,
I
if you
would
would panic, then you would be surprised how easy it would be to learn to swim.
probably. Like,
'Cause I learned to swim at like 7 or 8, and I was scared to fucking death of water, and so that made it a little difficult. But
when I was in Michigan last summer for those few months, I went kayaking for the first time.
well, you had a safety thingy on. What do you call it? A life jacket?
I had one on at first, but it was kind of restricting my rowing movement, so I took it off.
Stroking.
My stroking, so I took it off.
Wow, now that was kind of dumb actually, because had that kayak tipped and your ass can't swim, you would have been fucked.
It is what it is. I think my not being afraid of the water is partially related to the fact that if I die, I die.
And the fact that you're immortal.
Right, I am immortal. So really, all that'll happen is I'll sink to the bottom, and I'll just walk
And then just
across
laugh.
the bottom,
Like,
laughing.
ha ha ha.
Right, exactly.
Little bubbles. Because
Little
you have
bubbles.
inside you blood of kings.
Right.
Okay. All right. Just checking.
We are the princes of the universe.
You fucking ain't right. We are. All right. So anyway,
Oh,
James.
just
go
people
ahead.
ask me all the time because I would love to go on a cruise. Right? And people all the time are like, "Well, you don't know how to swim. What if the ship goes down?" I'm like,
the ship fucking goes down, everybody's dying.
right. It
I
doesn't
don't care
matter if I know how
fucking
to
swim like
I'm
Michael
like,
Phelps.
Right, like I saw Titanic. If the ship goes down, everyone's going with it. Don't matter if you can swim or not. All right.
And I don't care if you're even on a fucking life raft, you're probably gonna die.
Right.
Everybody will be eating each other's feet and drinking pee and
Right. Like being on a cruise liner like has no impact. Like whether I can swim or not, being on a cruise liner, it makes no difference.
yeah. See, taking a cruise is something that has never interested me in the slightest.
Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, so no one cares. James,
Yes, sir.
tell us. Now, did your NDA get lifted from last week regarding C2E2?
We are a week removed from the event, so yes, the NDA is now null and void. Yes.
Okay, good. So, well, I mean, tell us all about the Buffy reunion panel that I know you went to.
I would love to tell you about the Buffy reunion panel that featured David Boreanaz, in what I am to understand is a rare con appearance.
Yes.
I don't think he does those a lot. Charisma Carpenter, the beautiful and ever youthful Charisma Carpenter. Everyone's favorite vampire bad boy, James Marsters. And everyone's least favorite Buffy boyfriend, Mark Blucas.
Does that guy even work anymore?
I don't know. I would love to tell you about that panel. It was the one panel I was the most excited to see of the 3 days. Unfortunately, we arrived at the panel about 45 minutes before it was scheduled to start, and the C2E2 employees were already informing people past a certain point in line that the panel was full, and we would not be getting in to the panel.
Wow, James, you had one job, one job you had for C2E2, and you epically failed.
I feel like 45 minutes prior to the panel starting is plenty of time.
Apparently not.
It's usually more than enough time in the past. But I guess I overestimated how many people 30 years removed from this show would want to be in the same room as those individuals.
Well, you know why there were so many.
Because Mark Blucas was there.
No.
Because David Boreanaz was there.
No.
Because Charisma Carpenter was there.
No. Because of this fucking show, we have single-handedly brought back the massive amount of Buffy fans, and not to mention bringing in new ones.
We have single-handedly, listen, there's other Buffy podcasts out there, okay?
Yeah, but they're fucking hot garbage.
We can't deny that, okay? They're out there. Are they sponsored unlike we are? Yeah, they are.
They're paid to pretend like that they love it.
Do they have big corporate money thrown behind them for advertising, and are the hosts getting paid to do it? Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Can we trust that they actually have a love and a fondness for Buffy? No. I don't think we can. We are not sponsored. We are not making a fucking...
We will never be.
We will never be sponsored. We are not making a fucking dime off of this shit show, okay? We barely have enough listeners to make this worth our while, if we're being honest.
If we lose one more, it's time to wrap it up and call it a fucking career.
We are doing this 110% strictly out of our love of hearing ourselves talk. No,
that is completely true. I mean, what?
Out of our love of the Buffyverse. So,
no, that is true. That is true. That's the whole reason I.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is.
And let us just say when we started this podcast, okay, as far as what I could find, there was only one, maybe two other podcasts that were devoted strictly to Buffy, the Buffyverse.
Right.
But they did not have the format that we have. And quite frankly, they were lackluster, let's be honest. And I saw a need in the market. And now my point of saying that is that since we've started, there are some copycats, like literally format stealing copycats. And I'm not ashamed or afraid to say it. Fuck them and fuck their corporate money. And yeah. So
well, all I have to say is that hopefully this doesn't age like a human. Anyway,
okay. I don't know what that means, but okay.
That was a direct call out to one of those one of
Oh,
those podcasts.
because I've never,
Because you've never listened to
actually
it.
listened to any of them. I'm strictly taking hearsay that I've gotten. You know, age like a human. What the fuck is that supposed to be like? But like, is that supposed to be a funny thing or?
It's from what I take away, it aged poorly. It did.
Why not just say, well, that aged poorly?
Because aged like
Aged.
a human.
Okay. Listen, I'm. This is all a joke. I'm not actually shitting on these people. Yes,
No,
I am. I am.
no,
No, I really am.
No, don't do that.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying.
I'm
my
not
point
gonna
was to bring it up
because I'm not gonna name the if you listen to this podcast, you probably listen to other Buffy podcasts. I'm not gonna name the podcast that I'm referring to, but I will say that despite what we just said, I do listen to that other podcast. And of the other Buffy podcasts, it's the only one that I have continued to listen to because I'll be perfectly honest, I do find it enjoyable. Is it different than what we're doing here? It is. Is ours more fun? Yeah, probably. But theirs is good. It is a decent podcast.
My whole point in bringing it up, though, all bullshit aside, because I'm just bullshitting. I don't even know these people, let alone dislike them. But my whole point was I just wanted to say one thing. We were first. That's all. Go ahead.
We were, and we aren't corporate shills. We're not being. We're not being.
Now, would I be a corporate shill?
In a heartbeat. In a fucking heartbeat.
In a fucking anybody short minute, baby.
If anybody wants to start throwing money at us for higher production values and shit, I'll even stop
get
swearing.
Me say in the show, you're not gonna tone me down to PG. You're not gonna.
Oh,
that shit's happen. But if you want us to read 33 ads per fucking half hour, fuck it, I'll do it.
I'll stop swearing.
I won't. I won't even attempt it because it is such a part of my everyday language and has been since I was probably 10 years old that I couldn't if I tried. I really couldn't.
Right.
Like it would never. There would be so many bleeps. It would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
I have the mouth of a sailor.
Right. But yeah, so
on. Sorry, what?
Back to the original topic. I did miss the panel. It is probably because we have single-handedly revitalized Buffy in the pop culture lexicon.
Yes.
I mean, it had practically died before we came on.
Absolutely. No one even. People would be like, "Wait, Buffy? What?
Buffy? What? I'm not."
I came along and it was like, "What?
Oh, Buffy? Right? They were like Sarah
Michael Governor.
Sarah Michael Governor. What? Who? I don't know who she is.
Yeah.
And then you'd be like, well, David Boreanaz was on the show, and they'd be like, oh, the guy from Bones, yeah. So
I'd be like, no, the guy from Oz.
No.
He was the one that got raped a lot in prison. I'm thinking of someone else.
I think you're thinking of Christopher Maloney.
No, he did the raping in that show.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I missed the Buffy panel. I'm still salty about it. Very, very upset. More so in myself. I guess I should have known to get there much earlier. So yeah, that was disappointing. Overall, another good weekend at C2E2. I did get to see Zachary Levi had a panel that was really good. Levi.
So is he part of the Levi fortune?
I don't think so.
Oh.
Based on how he was talking about his childhood, I do not believe so. Tinak Herta, I saw him. He did a really good panel. He, for anyone that doesn't know, he played Namor in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever,
which I haven't seen.
I was present at the Boy Meets World 30th anniversary reunion panel. Which was,
and everyone was there except for the boy who met the world.
Right, everyone was there except Ben Savage because he's busy running for Congress.
Now, did his brother get canceled?
Fred Savage?
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently there was some shit that went down on the Wonder Years reboot
Yeah, that's what I heard too, but I
that-
wasn't sure if I was misremembering.
that he was a part of behind the scenes.
Yeah, he was a producer or something, and
Yeah, so some shit apparently went down with him surrounding that.
and
So,
can we be honest? That show was so bad.
um,
I tried to give it a chance. It was terrible.
with the original or the reboot?
No, God, no. The original's up there with Citizen Kane. Are you kidding me? But the
Oh,
fucking reboot was hot trash.
Okay, so two things. One, I never watched the reboot. I've
I'm
only seen.
I'm logging out of this Skype session right now.
Well, I've never seen the reboot. I've watched minimal episodes of the original. And I think Citizen Kane is overrated.
It is. It is. I just use it because everybody, says that. But yeah.
Is Citizen Kane a good movie? Yes, 100%.
Oh, yes, phenomenal movie.
Is it the best
people
movie
say it's
ever
the greatest
made?
movie ever. I'm like,
Right.
I don't know about that.
Right. Does it deserve to be number one consistently on like the 100 greatest movies ever made list? No, I don't think so.
No, because it's obviously not A New Hope. So
Right, because it exists in a world with Highlander, so I'm not sure.
and Empire Strikes Back.
And as we all know from Talladega Nights, a Highlander is the greatest movie ever made.
Ever made. Yep.
So,
and they even did a fucking episode on the Goldbergs all about Highlander.
Right.
With Clancy Brown in it.
Yes. So
duh.
Obviously, Highlander. So look for Highlander Revisited premiering in 2024.
It'd probably be like 2025. Because we still have 5 seasons of Angel to go.
Right, and 4 more seasons of this show. So
right, which they'll be going.
Well, they'll be going simultaneous.
But still, we're probably looking at 2025. And if you think I'm joking, clear your calendar because I'm not.
It's funny that we both brought that up because I have been actively thinking about what our next endeavor will be once we.
Oh no, I don't need to think about it. I already know what our next endeavor is. So get checked up from the doctor to make sure your health is good and clear your calendar because in 2025, Highlander Revisited will be coming to a podcast near you.
Well, we'll have to discuss it because I had another idea I wanted to toss at you. So we'll see. Well, okay. We can talk about it. But anyway,
maybe we can both we'll just podcast 24/7 and we'll do like 2 or 3 shows at once.
I'll just quit my job.
Yeah, there you go. Fuck it. Just come move in with me. You can move. You can live here. It's all good.
Sweet. So yeah, the Boy Meets World panel was really good. The Smallville panel. There was a Smallville panel. That was good. I will say this though. I want everyone to know Tom Welling is a habitual con canceller.
Yep.
He was supposed to be at C2E2 last year and canceled the entire weekend. He was at C2E2 this year, was supposed to be part of the panel, left after his final photo op and autograph session ended, flaked out on the panel. So as far as I'm concerned, once you've done something twice, it's habitual.
It's a pattern.
I'm putting it on the record now. Tom Welling is a habitual con canceller. Yep. So
he got that payday. See, he wanted that
there you go.
Autograph and photo op money, but when it came time for the panel, he's like, "Man, fuck this! I'm gonna go get some hookers and blow."
But the rest of the panel attendees that were there, it was Kristen Kruick, Erica Durance, Michael Rosenbaum, and John Glover. Any Smallville fans listening will recognize those names. That's Lana, Lois, Lex, and Lionel. And they put on a good panel. Rosenbaum, I don't know if anyone listening listens to either Inside of You or Talkville, his podcast. He's hilarious. John Glover's hilarious. He's a dirty, dirty old man.
So you're right up my alley.
Erica Durance and Kristen Kruick were fun to listen to up there on the panel as well. So that was a really good panel. Overall, good time at the con. So look forward to it every year. I will be the next time we record, Jeremy. I will be. It'll be on the eve of me moving into my own place, my new place. So I will have a guest bedroom. So you'll be more than welcome to my previous offer to come stay with me for C2E2 weekend.
Now, how
so
far
that
will you be living from the town of Shy?
I'm still out in the suburbs, about 45 minutes.
About 45 minutes from Shy.
Yeah. We
sail away.
we take the train in there. So
Is it as bad as the New York subways?
no.
Okay.
We actually we found a new con path this time, as far as getting from downtown Union Station to McCormick Place.
Mhm.
So it's
They call those taxis.
no, actually, it's not taxi. It's another. So here in Chicago, I don't know about other places, but sidetrack a little bit. On the weekends, Metro offers Metro being the Chicagoland area train line. Metro offers a Saturday and Sunday pass. It's $10, and it's good for any Metro line, unlimited rides on any Metro
For the
line
whole weekend.
for the whole weekend.
Wow.
So what we discovered is that about a 10 to 15-minute walk from Chicago Union Station is uh, it's a station on LaSalle Street, I believe, and that station takes you directly from there to McCormick Place for $10.
And it just dumps you right outside McCormick Place.
It dumps you in the basement of McCormick Place.
Damn.
Yeah. So
you're like, fuck, why didn't I know this before?
exactly. Like we were spending like close to $50, on Ubers, to get to and from McCormick Place and Union Station. And then finally my buddy that I go with every year started looking into it more and found and discovered this. So it's like we just cut travel costs by
significantly.
Significantly, because buy a $10 pass on Saturday and you're good for your train rides for the weekend, and it's literally barring significant injury or terribly inclement weather, a 10 to 15-minute walk from one place to the next isn't that bad. So
yeah.
Unless
you're being chased by vampires.
Right. I mean, but honestly, I would probably just let them take me.
Yeah, because at this age, I'm not running for
right,
15 minutes.
So yeah, that was my C2E2 experience. Overall, a good weekend. Always looking forward to it next year. It'll be next year. It'll be at the end of April, so the weather should be. The weather was good for it this year, for it being the end of March, but should be really good weather next year at the end of April. I do plan next year on debuting my first cosplay, which for the time being I will keep a secret.
You're not even going to tell me, like off the show?
I will tell you off the show. I'll tell you.
Okay.
I think you'll get a kick out of it.
Will it be bearded?
It won't be bearded.
Oh, so you're going to shave for it?
No, I'll be wearing a helmet.
Oh, okay. All right.
So.
Okay. I'm interested. I bet I know what it is.
What do you think?
R2-D2.
Damn it!
Stuff yourself down into that little trash can robot, and you're going to town.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have like sound effects. You're actually going to have a little microphone inside there going beep boop beep boop boop boop.
It's just going to be me crunched up inside a tiny trash can with a remote control to
drive yourself
operate around and a microphone. I'll be like this, and I'll be. So,
and I'm going as fat C3PO.
Oh,
yes.
C3P Fatso.
C Fatio.
Speaking of Star Wars, real quick, and we can talk about it more after we record. General thoughts on the announcements out of Star Wars Celebration in London today.
You talking about as far as being more Ray and that nonsense?
Yes.
Vomit.
Oh, okay. I don't want to talk about it after we
Well,
record then.
No. It's just I don't understand how Kathleen Kennedy, for anybody that doesn't know, she's the head of Lucasfilm, basically the czar of Star Wars. I don't know how she hasn't been publicly executed yet. Like, she has no talent. She is a horrible human being, and she knows nothing about Star Wars. And she's almost, if it weren't for Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, she would have nearly single-handedly destroyed the Star Wars universe. And that's all I have to say about that.
Did you see the Ahsoka trailer?
I did. Yes, I did. Oh, and I saw the trailer for the new Indiana Jones.
Ahsoka looks
we got,
pretty fucking good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we got clarification on the Willow situation. A lot of people were shitty that they canceled Willow after one season. Well, they didn't cancel Willow.
Oh, they didn't?
No.
I hadn't heard that.
Yes. They released... What they did is they released the main stars, basically released them from their contracts, because the contracts they had basically stopped them from doing anything outside of the show.
Oh.
And the show is it's going to go on a little bit longer than normal hiatus because they're going to rework a few things, but it is not canceled. It will be back for season 2, but they didn't want to have the stars locked into contracts that were going to stop them from, putting
Doing
food on the
anything.
table until they call them back in.
Okay.
So yeah,
well, kudos to Disney and Lucasfilm for
Lucasfilm has always been known as a great organization to work for. I don't know how it is with now that Disney's the overlord, but
right. But I mean, kudos to them for thinking about their principal talent and whatnot. Okay, so I think that wraps up the non-Buffy talk for right now.
Okay,
we can definitely get more into it once we finish the episode off recording. I do want to talk briefly about last week's episode, Helpless. We got a comment on our Facebook post about it. I think you might have seen it. From Darlene, who I believe you're familiar with. I'm familiar with as well.
Yeah. I know her slightly.
You know her better than I do. We'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So she had some comments about the episode. First of all, she said she can't buy the adrenal suppressant explanation, because Buffy's adrenals were working perfectly during her escape from Kralik prior to Giles showing up in his car, and all her other fight and flight scenes. I believe
she has several nursing degrees, so she would know.
Right. I believe this was something you also took issue with in the episode. All I'm going to say is I don't believe it was... I believe the adrenal suppressant angle was... what's the best way to put it?
Stupid?
No, I think it suppressed it suppressed her levels to a normal human level.
Well, I think I brought this up in the show.
All it did. So her fight and flight instincts in dealing with Kralik and other situations would have still been there, as they would have just been suppressed to a normal human level. Not our normal human level, because we're overweight middle-aged men, but
so
she's
extraordinary.
Sure. But definitely to the level of a 18-year-old teenage
girl
cheerleader. That's my take on the adrenal suppressant situation. Go ahead.
I think I brought this up during the recording, but I could be wrong. My memory. I don't know why they just didn't use a mythical explanation, a spell, whatever.
Right.
It's something maybe even that the Watcher Council did. A spell from their end, they brought it would have been so much simpler. I don't know. And it would have, and that you could buy because of the universe that we're in.
Right.
But
So while I don't have as much issue with the adrenal suppressant explanation as other people, I do agree that a much better explanation would have been something of a mystical nature, especially with this universe we're dealing in.
right.
But also, I kind of think if you were to do it that way, then you run more of a risk of the whole, well, why don't other people use this spell on Buffy? But we've also got the question of why don't bad guys use this combination of chemicals on Buffy?
I think I brought that up too. I was like, why don't?
Right.
Yeah. Why? Oh, it's just a adrenal suppressant, which I don't even think there's such a thing. Maybe there is. I don't know. But it's like, well, why don't they just, get some of that and fucking shoot her with a trank gun and then kick her ass,
Right. I do think in the episode, if I remember correctly, Giles mentioned it was a combination of different things worked into the concoction. But either way, with both explanations, you run into the whole, well, why don't the bad guys just do the same thing and whoop Buffy's ass? So
right, and that's my other problem with even doing a mystical thing. It's like, no, we can't have. To me, we can't have anything in this universe that can take her powers away, because then everybody and their brother would just do that all the time. So it should be something that's just not even touchable.
Right.
But far be it from me to disagree with he who shall not be named.
She also found Joyce's decision not to take 2 steps back into her door.
I brought that up too.
Right, when she found Kralik under Buffy's coat on her porch.
She was literally less than a foot and a half from her. She just went whoop, right back in the door and been like, not today, Satan.
Yes, Darlene also found that a facepalm inducing situation. And I mean, I don't disagree. I agreed with you, I believe, when we were talking about it on the episode. It's definitely something off about that. She
like,
says
nobody think about that. Like, wait a minute.
Right.
She
said she also took Kralik's comment about his mom and the scissors as an implication that she castrated him.
Thank you. Because you didn't get that vibe, if I recall.
I missed that comment altogether.
Oh, that's right. And you said that must have been when I was making mac and cheese. And I was like, wait.
No, that was a couple episodes ago.
Oh, okay.
This one I just missed.
Oh, that's right. This is the scene that you like went, and I was like, wait a minute, you're missing like a whole chunk back here, and you're like, I am, and right?
Yeah. No, you're thinking of a few episodes back when they killed the demon, and I didn't realize they had killed the demon. Like, I missed an entire scene.
You missed the culminating scene you missed.
Yeah, I missed the
you're like, wait, so where's the bad guy?
Right. And that's because I had gone to make macaroni and cheese.
Yeah.
Forgetting as an elder millennial that we now have the ability to pause and or rewind our shows.
What year were you born in?
81.
Ooh, you are a millennial.
Yeah. I am an elder millennial. Yeah.
1 year earlier you would have been with me in Gen X, but you're with all the nerds and
Here's something I would like you to explain to me and the listeners again. You explained it in the previous episode, but I'd like maybe a more in-depth explanation. She comments Kralik doing a James. Could you explain that for us again, if your memory serves?
My memory does not serve because I do not know what that means. Did I say that in that episode like he did a James? I did?
Yeah.
Well, can you jog my memory and then maybe I can take over?
I think if I remember correctly, it was when Buffy was burning, I believe she has a cross, and she's got it on him, and he's telling her, he's like, oh no, lower, lower, lower.
Okay, yeah. When he's loving the when it hurts so good situation.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I recall now. I think I do remember saying that now. Yeah, because he's like lower, and he's like, oh, and that's the first thing I thought of was you when you're like, oh, daddy. So yeah, that
Daddy.
would be James. Yep. I can't believe I forgot that. Well, it has been a while since we've been together and recorded. So yeah.
It has been, because full disclosure, this is our actual official first episode back from hiatus.
Yeah, this is our first episode back recording. We had already recorded our first episode back
from hiatus.
Yeah,
prior to hiatus.
But this is our first time together in what, about a month?
3.
Pretty close.
Pretty close, but 3 weeks.
Yeah.
She asked the same thing we did. What are with the pills? And we don't have an answer
that drove
for
me
that.
crazy.
Right? We do not have an answer for that.
That drove me bonkers, man. It had to be, like I think I said in the episode, it had to be some type of psycho, what do you call it? Psychotic medicine.
Right.
That's the only thing I could figure.
She also expresses her frustration with some of the scenes being too dark.
I get that a lot, man, and I'm like, I'm just glad it wasn't just me, because I'm like, wait a minute, I have a very high end. Now, granted, I watch these on my PC, but I have a very high end 4K gaming monitor, and I'm like, what? I was like, it's got to be me. It's got to be I'm doing something fucking wrong with this, but so apparently not. Apparently, just too damn dark.
I think it's the way it's the way they were filmed. I think it's the way.
Yeah, and the way they've been transferred since then from film to digital, and
right
a million times. Yeah.
She says that she also loved that Buffy is determined to go in and save her mom even without her powers. That's something we talked about in the episode too. As a fan of this genre, like heroes in general, we talked about this. I always enjoy seeing our hero still being the hero, even sans, if they have powers.
Yeah. Or
they still choose to try and be the hero.
Yeah, or going in. I love it also when when your hero is like, it's going to be like certain death, and they're just like, well, fuck it, this is what I got to do,
Something else I enjoy, and I don't know how you would categorize this, and I know we have some differing opinions about the final 2 episodes of Highlander, the series, to be and not to be, but Duncan still choosing to be the hero, even in this alternate reality.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I enjoy the hell out of that too.
Yeah, I enjoy that part of it. Yeah, absolutely. Because he remains the character that we've followed for 6 years.
Right. Like he knows what he's experiencing isn't real.
Yeah.
But it's still ingrained in him who he is.
Yeah, and he's like, I can't let this be, even in this fucked up, weird alternate reality.
Right.
I can't stand for this. So,
Darlene, I don't know, and I don't think Jeremy knows how that bottle of holy water managed to stay in Buffy's pocket during all her running and fighting and all that.
Because that's the bottle that I thought she dropped it into the bibs.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, how in the fuck does that not fall down the pant leg and out,
Right.
And you were like, because that was a dark scene for me at least.
Right.
And you were like, no, it was, she actually put it in her pocket, but still, how the fuck did that thing not like come out? And I think she got thrown to the ground several times. I'm like, how did that not like break?
Right.
No,
we don't have an answer for you, darling. TV magic.
TV magic. It's kind of like the Zeist pocket.
Yes. Don't ever call it that again.
But that's what the producers called it.
Well, they're dead now, so who cares?
No, not them. I mean, like Abramowitz and
Oh,
I guess I should have said the writer Leto and all that, but
she asks, was that a reference to the song Brick House, James? I don't know if you remember it in the episode. There's a scene where one of the bad guys, I think it is, opens a door Buffy opens one of the doors in the
in
abandoned
that weird
sanitarium,
house, yeah.
and it's all bricked up.
Hmm.
And so when we were revisiting the episode, she opened the door, and I said, Buffy opens a door and it's all bricked up because Buffy's hot. And you didn't respond. I think because I wasn't responding to any of the
Yeah,
stuff.
you didn't respond to anything I was saying, so yeah.
So she asks, was that a reference to the song Brick House? It was not. I will tell you what it's a reference to. It's embarrassing, but I will tell you what it's a reference to. And Jeremy looks confused, so maybe this isn't a term he's heard frequently. But when a member of the male gender is aroused by the attractiveness of a member of the female gender, it is sometimes said that they are bricked up.
Wow. Never heard it.
So that's what that
We
was.
just called it chubbed up.
Yeah,
Or
well,
bricked up, but
so
you're saying that she in fact is not a brick house?
she no.
Oh.
She's like a Lincoln log house, but a very sturdy one.
Oh, because Lincoln logs are pretty easy to knock over, my friend. She's a Lincoln log house.
Doesn't have the same ring to it.
No.
And she says, now on to the only part of the episode that truly mattered. And I think we both agree with this. That scene, Buffy discovering Giles's betrayal.
Oh,
No
yeah.
exaggeration. I felt that deeply, probably due to personal life experience. I full on cried. Hats off to SMG. Yes, 100%. We talked about it in the episode. That is the only scene that matters in the entire episode. If that scene hadn't been in the episode, this episode would not have been a 5.
Oh no.
We
It
talked
would have
about
been like
that.
3.5.
Right. We talked about that. Yeah, and there's a lot of episodes like that. There's a lot of shows like that that have episodes that are otherwise not great episodes, but there's one, maybe 2 scenes in the episode that 100% redeem that episode.
Yeah, and push it higher than what it probably should have been.
Exactly. And she gave it 5 castrated Kralix.
Right.
On this
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah. Well, she agrees with us then, because
So
we
she
both
did.
gave it 5s, right?
Yeah, we both gave it 5s, and I appreciate that you added your own weird object,
Like we always do.
like
yeah.
we always do. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Please, Darlene, other listeners, keep those reviews coming into us either on Facebook or YouTube. I enjoy it. I know Jeremy enjoys it, and we'll discuss it like we just did now.
Yep.
I apologize it took us so long into the episode to get into it. We got sidetracked by C2E2 discussion, but there we are. So, how about?
Right. Well, thanks for joining us this. Oh,
Yeah.
we still have a show to do.
How about if we move on to this week's episode?
Okay.
I will give you some dates and deets.
I will receive them lovingly.
Okay. As previously mentioned, we are revisiting Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 3, Episode 13, our 47th episode of the series overall, the Zeppo. I'm gonna do a rare title explanation here too. The title, of course, Jeremy, I'm sure you know this, refers to Herbert Zeppo Marx. He was the youngest of the 5 Marx brothers. For anybody who doesn't know, the Marx brothers were a comedy troupe.
And something tells me a vast majority of our listening audience has no idea who the Marx Brothers were.
Right. They were a comedy troupe active from the 1920s through the 40s. That's when they were at their height. Groucho, who was kind of the de facto leader, went on to do stuff separate from the Marx Brothers for numerous years after that. Um, but anyway, Zeppo was the brother. He was always kind of in the background, but always kind of seemed to be getting in the way of um, Groucho, Chico, and Harpo, who were the three other brothers. So that's where the title comes from. Our episode director this week is James Whitmore Jr., and our credited writer is Dan Weber. Our original air date. I'm sorry. Our original air date was January 26th, 1999, on the now defunct WB network. It pulled in a Nielsen rating of 4.1 million households when it first aired, ranking 95th out of the 123 network primetime shows for the week, and third out of the 16 shows on the WB for that week. Our regular cast, as always, includes Sarah Michelle Gellar as Buffy, Nicholas Brendan as Xander, Allison Hannigan as Willow, Charisma Carpenter as Cordelia, David Boreanaz as Angel, Seth Green as Oz, and Anthony Stewart Head as Giles. Our guest stars this week include the long-awaited return of my favorite, Eliza Dushku as Faith, Savio Guerrero as Willie the Snitch, Shannon Rowe as Jack O'Toole, Shannon, I'm not sure. Michael Cudlitz, people might recognize that name.
Oh yeah. I
As
recognized him as soon as I saw him. I was like, "Oh shit!"
yeah.
He doesn't have a bat in his head.
As Bob. He's also playing Lex Luthor on this season of Superman and Lois. I know you don't watch those shows, but
No, but I did know that.
A bald bearded Lex Luthor.
Kind of like what's his face in the first Iron Man.
Yeah. Darren Hames as Parker, Scott Torrance as Dickie, and Whitney Dillon as Lizette. Our episode synopsis this week reads, it doesn't read anything because I lost it. There we go. Xander mixes with a wild crowd, raising the dead and consorting with fast women, while Buffy and the crew battle an all-female apocalyptic cult.
Okay, ours is pretty close. Mine reads, Xander experiences an adventure of his own, excuse me, when he encounters a group of reanimated corpses out to construct a bomb. Meanwhile, Buffy and her friends battle the forces of evil when the Hellmouth reopens.
They're both pretty yeah, they're both pretty on point. All right, let's dive into the cold open where we are in a cave and there's a thick fog kind of obscuring the camera view, and we see a blue-skinned demon searching through the fog in the cave, and we see that there's two of the same kind of demon dead on the cave floor. And then we see that Faith is standing in a little alcove watching, and then we see Buffy watching from a ledge, and Giles is kind of off in a corner, and then we see Willow slowly step around a corner from the cave entrance, carrying a large candle, and she's reciting some sort of spell or incantation, and she blows out the candle, and a gust of wind comes through the cave and sucks the mist out, and making the demon visible, and everyone else. And Buffy jumps off the ledge and tackles it, and Giles comes out of his corner and grabs the demon by one of its arms, and Buffy gets up to her feet and grabs it by the other arm, and they drag it and slam it against the wall, and it grabs Giles and tosses him off into a adjacent wall, and Giles falls to the ground, and Buffy yells now, and Faith comes out of her little hiding spot holding a huge ass sword. This sword was easily as big as Eliza Dushku,
Yeah.
with both hands, and plunges it into the demon. The demon screams and falls down dead. Um, um, sorry, I lost my spot. Here we go. So Giles is basically like, I knew there was something here, but I thought it was vampires. I don't really have a whole lot of resources now that I've been fired from the Watchers Council. And then they all start to question where Xander is, and he appears from underneath a bunch of garbage and rubble. And they
He is trash.
and the group basically decides amongst themselves that Xander needs to kind of stand back and be out of the way of fights going forward, so he doesn't get himself killed. And that's the end of our cold open.
It is. And when we come back from what would have been a break, it's the next day and they're at school, and Xander's out in the quad trying to be cool and fit in with normal people. And there's a couple of guys passing a football, and he tries to get them to throw him the ball, and they just fucking ignore him, and he keeps bugging them, so they finally throw him one. Of course, he doesn't catch it, and it goes over and knocks a guy's lunch out of his hands. And that guy is supposed to be like this, I guess, scary dude. His name is Jack O'Toole, but he gets up and gets all up on Xander's grill, and he's gonna kill him. They're gonna him and his buddies are gonna beat his ass into another shape or something like that. I'm like, what? This guy is not scary at all. But anyway, he punks Xander out, and of course Cordelia has witnessed this, so she takes her opportunity to basically tell her, like, just break his balls relentlessly.
I almost didn't like Cordelia in this scene.
Well, she's very old school Cordelia.
I want to say it was even above and beyond old school Cordelia.
Well,
it was.
But let's be honest, he has it coming.
Considering what's happened, like on a certain level, I can understand. But I was kind of like, Cordy, come on, like, we're being a little bit extra here. But,
I didn't mind at all because I hate Xander. So
I don't like Xander either. But
I was like, hey, while he's down, kick him in the balls. So yeah, she basically just she owns him and walks away, and we cut over to Giles and Buffy. Well, everybody else except for Xander, basically, and the big evil is this sisterhood of demons. Well, it's a group of demons known as the Sisterhood of, was it Ja or Jay?
Jay,
yeah.
I wanted to bring this up in the cold open, but I'll bring it up here because it hasn't changed and it remains pretty much this way throughout the episode. What is going on with Sarah Michelle Gellar's hair?
Right? Every scene there's something crazy, and I was like, okay, maybe I don't know, maybe she's experimenting. But like every scene it was something like a little weirder.
So in most scenes it looks like her or someone in hair and makeup went crazy with a crimper.
I was going to say it was a crimper, which I remember my sister having in the fucking 80s.
Right.
And I thought, wait a minute, was crimping a thing again in the 90s? I don't remember that, but
And then there's one scene where it looks like someone was like, okay, this isn't working, and then they tried to straighten it but
Straight.
it didn't quite work out.
No, it's kind of like big. It's kind of like,
yeah.
no, it didn't work.
I was like, and we don't normally comment about things like this on the show. So for me to point it out, like, it had to be like really like, whoa, what's going on?
Yeah, it was startling and a little bit like, well, and then I was just like, okay. And then I would notice with each scene, if there was a wardrobe change, her hair was different. And I was like, okay, I guess maybe they got a new hairstylist, and she was like, let's pizzazz you up today, sister. And they did. I don't know. Hell, I don't know.
They broke out the 80s hair crimper.
Yeah, let's break out the crimper. I brought the crimper, and I also brought the ironing board to iron your hair because we're going old school, baby. Okay. Anyway, so Giles is informing the gang of what's going on, that this end of the world deal is like no fucking joke. It's a group of demons that are all female, known as a Sisterhood of J, and they are planning like the literal apocalypse to reopen the Hellmouth. Which, if that were to happen, as we know, all the demons in the Hell dimension would pour into Earth. And are you having an earthquake?
Oh no, sorry. It's my restless leg syndrome bouncing and causing my
I have that too, so I can relate, brother. But yeah, so this is serious shit. They don't want to just do, we're gonna come to do this, no, they want to end the motherfucking world. To reopen they're trying to stress that this is like no joke.
Right.
Then we cut to the lunchroom, and it's just Xander and Oz, and Oz is clearly the character of Oz is a really good guy, but you can almost tell that he's just annoyed with Xander. Like, he's just like, will you please go away? Why are you sitting here with me? Like, can you just let me be alone? Because Xander's, he's going on and on about how he's they're excluding him, and now he feels like the black sheep of the group, and blah blah blah. And what can he do? Well, he decides, I've got to have a thing. I've got to have my thing to make me special in the group, because Cordelia had said, yeah, because Cordelia had said that when she was breaking his balls, she's like, well, everybody else in that group has like a superpower, basically.
Right.
Has some type of power.
Right.
There's a werewolf, a slayer, a witch, etc. And she's like, and you're just this fucking nerd. And
you're the Zeppo.
That's when she says you're the Zeppo, and he's like, what? And she's like, look it up, and so
right.
Anyway, so he's decided that he has to have a thing that will make him cool and indispensable to the group. And Oz is just like, okay. And then the next thing we know, he's pulling up outside where...
Hold on.
Go ahead.
So there's a goof in this scene. I don't know if you caught it.
I did not.
When the scene first opens in the cafeteria, it's a close-up of the food being slopped onto plates.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
When it pans up over the counter, for a brief second, you see a scene of Xander, Buffy, and Willow sitting together.
So it was lifted from another episode.
It was actually lifted from I Only Have Eyes for You.
I thought that food, you know what? I thought the food looked familiar. Okay. The reason I thought they were showing the food is because I was like, wait a minute, are they trying to establish that this fucking school serves like the exact same shit because it's always sauerkraut, hot dogs, and spaghetti. And I'm like, okay, which is a weird combination, but whatever. I'm like, okay, they're trying to establish like the lunch menu here really sucks. But I didn't know that they just straight lifted that out of a different episode. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, hey, saves a shot, and
right. Gotta
probably a few bucks,
Save those dollars.
Yeah. So next thing you know, Buffy and Buffy and Willow are outside. It's like the end of the day of school.
One more thing.
Yeah.
You missed in the library scene. So you inverted the scenes.
I did.
So it's the cafeteria scene,
Mhm.
with Xander and Oz, and then the library scene.
I do that
Because-
a lot in my notes. I don't know why.
Because at the end of the library scene, Oz shows up to lock himself in the cage.
That's right. That's right. Because he and Giles says cutting it a little close, and Oz is like, well, it's me. And yeah, you're right. I am trying to be briefer on the descriptions. But yeah, I did invert those fucking scenes.
Well,
so then,
and I only mention it honestly because the fact that it's werewolf time for Oz comes
kind
into
of plays
play
it. Yeah, comes
two
into
other
play
times in the episode. So otherwise, I would have just let it
Oh,
go.
and I was going to ask you.
Uh-huh.
I think I know the answer to this though. Now that I'm thinking of it, is this the first time we see the new werewolf make, or was it? It was the.
It was previously.
Okay, that's what I thought. But
Yeah.
Oh, I hate this makeup so much. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a previous episode was the debut of the new werewolf makeup.
Okay. So.
Because we talked about it in that episode.
Yeah, it was such a letdown. Oh. Buffy and Willow are outside. It's the end of school, and they're talking about the whole possible end of the fucking world here, and like this could be our last, hurrah here. What blah blah blah. So it's a pretty down conversation, and then Xander pulls up. That's right, I said pulls up in a car, not just any car, a 1957 Chevy Bel Air,
Aqua blue convertible.
Yeah, and it is nice. Let's just say that. Like, I'm sure the production must have paid a pretty penny to rent this thing.
I wondered, and I couldn't find anything about it. I wondered if it was. Do you remember the 1991 NBC Sunday Night Movie of the Week, Knight Rider 2000?
Oh yeah, of course.
Do you remember Michael's car in that movie?
You mean the new kit?
No. The one Michael was working on fixing up now that he was retired.
Was it a 57 Chevy Bel Air?
It was a 57 Aqua Blue Chevy Bel Air.
Okay.
I don't think it was a convertible though.
Ah. Okay. Anyway. No, yeah, I hear you. Something tells me they dropped a few $100 and rented this off a local, somebody local. They probably just said, production probably said, hey, go out, find us a cool classic car that we can just rent for the day for, a few $100. And, I would have been like, fuck you. Who's covering the insurance on this? You know what the car's worth? It's worth more than your show. But anyway, so yeah, Xander, he pulls up and he's all like, hey, you guys need a ride? And they're like, what the fuck? And he's like, yeah, I'm cool car guy now, see, because the car. And Willow's like, how she just looks at him like, she goes, how can you afford this? And what was the uncle's name? Uncle
Rory.
Yeah, Uncle Rory's had a few too many DUIs, so
he's letting Xander rent it.
Letting Xander rent it. Like, I want to know if you have a nephew who's in high school, who's a known fuck up. Okay, you're an alcoholic, but you have a fucking sweet, like all original 1957 Chevy Bel Air drop top. And you can't drive for a while because your license is suspended due to said DUIs. Are you letting your fuck up idiot nephew drive it around town?
Well, I have to say, if I've racked up multiple DUIs, I'm probably not the best decision maker to begin with. So I'd say there's a reasonable chance that you might do that.
And he probably does need the money for fines and costs.
I was just going to say, as someone who has racked up one DUI in his lifetime, they're not cheap.
Yeah.
They're not cheap.
Yeah.
So if Uncle Rory's got multiple DUIs, he's probably looking for a way to make some easy money.
And I'm thinking, now wait a minute. If he's got multiple DUIs, he has to be like a felony fucking, what do they call that? Habitual traffic offender. Like, he can't even have a license anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So we're talking 90
In the 90s and in California.
99 here in California. So I don't know. I don't know what the DUI laws were like, back then, especially in California.
Yeah.
So I know here, third time you're done. Like,
Yeah.
you're done
for life.
Yeah, you are not getting your driver's license back. Period.
Yeah.
So
So now Xander's cool car guy. They're both just like, yeah, no, thanks, sorry. And he's like, "Why?" And they're like, because there's some serious shit happening. He's like, well, what is it? And they basically don't tell him because they don't. It's not that they don't want him involved because they don't like him anymore, but he's almost gets killed every time. So they're just like, well, it's no big deal. And they're going to be getting together that night in the library to do some serious research. Go ahead.
Buffy straight up asks Xander if this is a penis metaphor.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, what? Why would she go straight to that? I'm like, no. So when it comes time for the get together in the library that evening for research time, Xander's at the donut shop. He's been tasked with getting the donuts, which apparently is often his job because he runs into Cordelia there, and she's immediately like, "So they sent you on the dangerous mission of collecting the donuts again, huh?" And so he's shitty, and she's breaking his balls again and just owning him. And he's heading out to the car to get in his car and get out of there. And by the way, I noticed he ordered, which comes back into play, he ordered 4 jelly donuts.
Yeah.
Which I was like, that's right, because jelly donuts are the best donuts.
Thank you. I was just going to say, yeah, why wouldn't he?
Why wouldn't you just order a dozen jelly donuts? I mean, come on. But anyway.
Listen, it's the hierarchy is jelly.
Okay.
Boston cream.
Okay.
And then the cake donuts with the pink frosting and the sprinkles.
Nah, you lost me.
Sorry.
You lost me. You had the top 2. Number 3 for me is probably what here probably everybody calls it something different. We call it the apple cinnamon fried. Kind of looks like
it's a fritter. It's an apple fritter.
There you go. That's apple fritter. Yeah. That's for me. That's number 3. I don't like anything with that weird icing, like that pink icing stuff. I don't like that stuff. Just tastes.
You know what? I wasn't thinking fritters, so I'm gonna amend. I'm gonna add apple fritter.
Fucking A.
The top 3, and then my 4th is still gonna be the cake donut with the pink frosting and the.
Yeah, well, my roomie loves those type, and if I ever buy like the thing of Krispy Kreme, and it's got one of those in the mixture, I'm like, that's all you, sister, because I do not like that. Anyway,
I do enjoy a Long John.
Now, filled or unfilled?
Unfilled.
Unfilled. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a very well-known bakery here, and it's very close to me, called Long's Donuts. People from actually around the country know about it. It's like one of the things we're known for. They make a Long John that's got it's white filling, but it tastes like angel tear. I mean, I don't know how to explain. It's so delicious. It's the most unique white filling I have ever, like, don't even think like Twinkie white filling, nothing like that. This stuff it's like if heaven was a food. It's this stuff. And oh man, if you ever come here to visit me, dude, we are going to Long's and you're going to try one of those.
All right.
And you will probably propose to me.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. You're going full homosexual just for that donut.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good thing it's a Long John then.
Okay, so where'd I leave off? Yeah, so he starts to get in his car to leave the donut place to get away from Cordelia's ball breaking. And this girl walks up, very attractive. And she's asking him about the car, and she knows the motor, she knows everything about this car, which one of the things she said I thought was off. I'm not a car expert, but I do know cars. She mentioned the cubic inch of the motor. I think she said oh man, now I can't remember. I should have wrote it down, but I think she said a 305, and I was like, I don't think they put 305s in the Chevy 57. But anyway, neither here nor there. And she's like, well, he's like, well, do you want to go for a ride? And she's like, does a bear shit in the woods? And he's like, whoa. So they hop in and skedaddle. And Cordelia is kind of like, well, am I supposed to be jealous? And anyway, he where did I now I've lost my spot.
I'll pick it up for a little bit real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. Found my spot. Go ahead.
We end up at the Bronze, and Lisette, that's her name, is babbling about cars and her ex-boyfriends who owned them. And Xander is clearly getting increasingly bored and annoyed. And he sees Angel walk in, and he's...
Do you hear that? Again?
I do hear that. What the...
Why does that always happen when Angel shows up? I don't get it.
I have no idea.
It's really creepy.
It is really weird. I wonder if that'll come into play at any point down the line.
I doubt it.
Nah, probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Just a fluke thing.
Just a weird.
That continues to fluke.
Yeah.
Every episode.
It just flukes all the time.
Yep.
And Xander is uncharacteristically thrilled to see Angel, and invites him to sit down and talk. And but Angel says he's just looking for Buffy. There's something bad coming. And
I was waiting for Angel to be like, I don't even like you. Why are you talking to me? You're such a dick to me all the time.
He says he's looking for Buffy. There's something bad coming. He's seen the portents. And
I wanted Xander to be like, hey, can I see the portents too? Something like that.
And Xander,
and then Angel pulls out his balls.
Right.
He's there's the portents.
There's the portents.
Want to see him a little up close?
And Xander says, she's at the library last time I saw her. And,
which why can you just? I'm sorry. I hate. I'm sorry to keep interrupting you, but
no, it's fine.
What? Okay, you're Angel. Okay, you're looking for Buffy. It's evening time. Well, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I was going to say, why wouldn't the library have been the first place you went? But I guess I'm wrong because it is evening, so she could be. It is likely she could have been at the Bronze. That's true.
Right.
Okay, I'm wrong.
Right. And it's not the first time Angel's gone to the Bronze specifically looking for her.
That is true.
So
he always. Wait a minute. You're right.
He pretty much always goes
to the Bronze. Like
yeah.
Day, night, Easter Sunday. He's like knocking on the. Why are you close? Is Buffy in there? Like I think he thinks she lives there.
So Xander, asks if he can, take him there, or wants him to come with, or something like that. And Angel is pretty much tells Xander what everyone else has been telling him the whole episode. It's better if you're
a loser. Stay away.
It's better if you stay out of harm's way. And I don't know about you, but it was at this point in watching the episode, I was like, did the writers somehow hear Jeremy and I's conversation
through time
about how, at what point are these people going to realize that Xander is a hindrance and he really shouldn't be around?
Yeah, aside from the fact that he's a creepy fucking creepazoid, he is just a total fucking liability at all times. But
Right.
sometimes he does. It is good to have a meat shield. I mean,
Right.
it is. You know, here, throw him out there. And
So Angel leaves, and Lisette says she wants to go for another drive. So her and Xander leave the Browns, and
why wouldn't you just ditch?
because she's hot.
Yeah, but at that point, you can tell he's like, I don't care how hot she is. I just want to kill myself.
Yeah.
You know.
So they leave the Browns and hop in his car, and Xander goes to pull away, and he rear ends a parked car.
Who is it?
Who is it, Jeremy? Who is it? Who does
Is
he rear end?
Is it Jack O'Lantern?
It is
It's Jack O'Lantern.
O'Toole.
Mr. Bad, which, I mean, no
Mr.
offense against the
Badass.
guy himself, the actor, or anything, but at no time in this entire episode that he's supposed to be this really super badass, you know, psycho, I'll do anything kind of guy. Is he ever scary? To me, at least, he's never scary or.
This is 100% the dude that we all know people like this, whether personally or, you know, we see them peripherally or whatever, school or whatever. This is 100% the dude that the first time you stand up for yourself and get back in his face, he's gonna back down.
Yeah, he's what you call a tryhard.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's trying to. Yeah.
Yeah, this is 100% that guy.
Yeah, he is that guy. But I mean, even all that aside, just physically.
Oh yeah.
Physically, he's just not. He's like 5'7" ish. You know, again, nothing against the guy, but I'm saying if you want to have like a scary, bully type, oh fuck, like they should have went with, our buddy from The Walking Dead,
Michael Cudlitz.
Yeah, like he should have played that role. He's much more intimidating person, you know, and I don't know. I was not intimidated by this. And he had, of course, the necklace with like the claw and like the crystal ball thing. And I was like, oh, you're instantly, you're a Spencer Mall nerd who's you know. And what does he pull out, James?
His penis.
He does pull his penis out, and Xander immediately drops to his knees. And he's just like, okay, and he just holds his mouth open and waits. Because come to find out, Xander is the reason he never scored with Cordelia is because he's actually a closeted homosexual.
It's funny you mentioned that because we don't find out. We don't get confirmation that he hasn't scored with Cordelia yet until later in this episode. Later in this episode.
But I always assumed it because Cordelia always came across to me like, I'm not putting out, you know.
Did you really assume?
Yeah.
See, and I could have sworn I remembered us talking about this in episodes when they were dating. I 100% thought those two had fun.
I never did. I don't think we had this before.
Really?
No, I never felt that way because I always felt like Cordelia. I mean, remember she's the rich girl, you know, the rich parents and everything, and she's clearly the hottest thing going, and she knows it. She doesn't know why she likes Xander so much. I don't know. She just does not at any time strike me as the type of character who is having, you know, teenage sex. She doesn't. I mean, she'll make out. I mean, because they do that all the time. But like, yeah, I never felt like Cordelia was the type that would ever have teenage. I just don't. I never got that feeling. She saved herself. Okay.
No. I'm gonna see if I can.
She has a promise ring for Jesus.
No, I'm going to see if I can find it again. When I was looking up stuff about this episode, I did see there was they referenced that Xander is the penultimate core member of the group to lose his virginity. Next is Willow.
Right.
And they had the listing of when, like, and Cordelia's on the list as having lost her virginity already.
Well, maybe she did, but it wasn't to fucking Xander.
Well, no, because it went Cordelia, Buffy, Xander, Willow.
Oh, so, huh? So they're saying she, but see, this has got to be fan fiction shit because this has never been in the show.
I'll try and find it again when you pick it up.
Unless maybe there's some episode where there's an obscure reference where she says, "Well, when I lost my virginity at whatever 15 to Billy Bob Joe Frank."
So.
He's that guy she used to date like through all of the first season. Remember, I think he was a football player and
I don't remember.
Douchey.
I don't remember. But you mentioned the knife that Jack pulls out, and you actually skipped ahead because before we see him pull out the knife, there's a scene with Buffy and Willow in the library, and
Mr. Giles.
Mr. Giles. And Oz is very much acting up in his cage.
Oh yeah, it is important that we. Yeah.
And Willow says she thinks he's cranky, and Giles comes in and says that he's going to go try and get some info from the spirit guides because the Watchers won't return his phone calls. Which why would they? They fucking fired you, dude.
Right.
He notices that all the jelly donuts are gone and he's upset about it.
Because he has a good excuse, a good reason though. He's like, I'm the jelly donut guy. I'm the one that always had Xander get jelly donuts.
Right.
And then fucking Willow's like, Buffy ate 3.
She fucking narcs Buffy out. She narcs Buffy out in a heartbeat. She's like, Buffy ate 3 of them.
Yeah, but I was like, damn, Buffy, are you pregnant? And shit. Tiny little girl, and she ate 3 fucking jelly donuts. What normally you see her just sitting there with food, and she's like just like picking it.
She's got that Slayer metabolism, man.
True.
She's like Spider-Man. She's like Spider-Man.
She has to eat like an entire pig in a day.
She's like the Flash. She's got to eat so many calories a day to keep up that metabolism.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was hysterical. Like,
yeah.
I was like, just another reason why I like Giles so much because
I would
myself
the same way.
Right.
If I walked out in that box of donuts, there could be 100 other donuts, and I'd be like, is there no jelly? No, we ate them all. I'd be like, well, fuck you guys. I'm leaving.
Whenever I go into the office, because I work from home, whenever I go into the office, I usually coordinate it with the attorney I work with, and she'll stop and get donuts, and she'll always be like, "I got jelly for you." Like she.
Tell me it's more than one though.
She does. She always gets multiple jelly donuts because she knows they're my favorite.
Hells yeah.
So then we cut back to the Bronze, and that's when Jack pulls out his knife. And what's
a giant buoy?
What's his knife's name, Jeremy? He gave it a name.
Katie, I believe.
Katie.
And I'm like, really?
And Xander's like, oh, you gave it a girl's name. How very serial killer of you.
Yeah.
And he's threatening Xander with it, and all this bullshit. And a cop comes up and asks what they're doing, and Jack says, "Oh, they're just wrestling." And
he says wrestling. I'm like, where did this southern accent come from all of a sudden?
And then the cop asks Xander, and Xander backs Jack up, says, he was just two guys letting off some steam, wrestling. And then he says, not in a gay way.
Yeah.
I groaned. I was like, oh my God.
Well, it was the 90s, See, what he should have said for that scene to be funny, like for the laughs, he should have been like, listen, we were making out. We're lovers,
And then grabbed Jack and shoved his tongue right down his throat.
Yeah, and had him by the fucking cock and balls with one hand.
Yeah. 100%. So of course the cop leaves, and of course this has now endeared Xander to Jack.
Yeah,
And
pretty easy to get him liking you.
right. And
He's like, you didn't narc on me. That's pretty cool.
I like
You want to hang out, man? And I'd have
Right.
been like, no,
I was
no,
like, I don't want to. No.
no, you're a fucking psychopath. You just had a
Right.
knife to my jugular. How about go fuck yourself, Jack-o'-lantern?
Right. So he asks Xander and Lisette if they're up for some fun, and Xander's like, "What'd you have?"
And
in
Xander's like a three-way? Okay.
And Xander's like, "Well, what'd you have in mind?" And Jack is like, he wants him to be his wheelman, and um, he says, "We'll take Xander's car." And Xander's like, "Well, what about your car?" And Jack's like, "That's not my car."
Yeah, he's like, that's not mine. And then I'm like, okay.
Um,
They're really trying hard to make this guy like a
Right.
badass.
So, they leave, and so just condensing like several scenes into one quick one here, we find out that being Jack's wheelman and being up for some fun or whatever he says entails Jack raising his three friends from the dead,
Which he's able to do very easily. Like he says like a 2-line incantation, cuts his hand with his knife, kind of sprinkles the blood over the earth, and pop, they're back up.
Yes.
And apparently they do this all the time because they're like, how long was I out this time? And he's like, oh,
No. He didn't say how long was I out this time. He asked how long he was down for.
Oh, okay. But it seems like if they know, I don't know. I'm reading into it, so never mind.
You are.
Yeah, I do that. I tend to do that. But anyway, he raises his three buddies up. Go ahead. I'm sorry. And well, the big guy had a gunshot wound in his head. That's how he got killed.
Yeah.
One guy had gotten thrown off a bridge into the river by another gang because apparently they're gang members.
Right.
Even though none of them look remotely like the one guy's like clearly a varsity football player, but he's also a gang member. I don't know. And their whole overall scheme is what, James?
Well, we're not there yet.
I thought
we're not there yet.
Okay.
No, because
they want to bake a cake. They keep talking about that.
Right. Because the next scene is Giles. Xander runs into Giles at the Restfield Cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
And Giles is trying to speak to the spirit guides, but they refuse to talk to Giles. And that's when Xander sees Giles there and asks him if they need any help, and Giles tells him, it's best if you stay out of trouble. And then we cut to Willie's bar, and why don't you pick it up here, Jeremy?
Well, Willie the Wimp, let's call him Willie the Wimp because he always gets beat up. Willie the Wimp has been fucked up. Like he is bleeding from every orifice in his body and some that didn't exist prior. Buffy has gotten there and because she wanted to ask him some questions about this sisterhood and this, what he had heard, because as we know, he is the supernatural, the bartender of the supernatural, basically, and he's got his ear and his nose into everything. So
right.
But when she gets there, the whole bar is trashed. He has been fucking just. He's had the brakes beat off of him. And so she's like, hey, the ambulance is on the way. But in the meantime, can you answer a few questions? And so she kind of questions him about it. And he's like, yeah, they're coming after you and Angel. And he's like, if you want some advice, you should find Angel, find a quiet place, and decide how you want to spend your last night on Earth. And Buffy she's like, fuck you. And she just reaches over and just fucking snaps his neck. And so Willie the Wimp is no. But she's like, okay, blah, blah, blah. And we cut back to the library. And at this point, Oz, as the werewolf, is just going fucking ape shit inside.
Mm. There's the whole scene with Xander driving Jack and his friends around before that.
Well, then I've got them switched again because that was my next scene. I'll just do it my way. Who cares? Fuck it.
Yeah.
Because it's very quick. They need to move Oz. He's going crazy in the what do you call that?
It's a book cage.
Okay.
Lockup.
He's locked up there, and they're afraid. He's so agitated. They're afraid he's going to break out of there. So they decide they need to move him. So they're going to trank him.
That's not why they move him.
It's not. Well,
No,
I know they want to keep him safe because he's
Yeah.
close to the Hellmouth opening is right there in the middle of the library. They want to keep him safe. Blah blah blah. So they're going to trank him. So basically, Giles is going to open the door, which I don't understand. Wait a minute. Why didn't Willow open the door?
Or why didn't they fucking trank him while he was in the cage?
Hello, the gun. There's big. Yeah, I know. But I'm like, wait a minute. Why is Giles letting this 17-year-old girl operate the trank gun and while he hides behind the fuck? I'm like, what? But anyway, that's what they do, and she ends up having to shoot him twice to take him to put him down, because he's so agitated, I guess. And then she's like petting him, and she's like, "Oh, I hope you're not mad at me tomorrow." And I'm like, okay. Then Xander and all these idiots are riding around town and talking nonsense. This is when they kind of give their stories of what each of them had happened to each of them and blah blah blah. And they all give ideas of what they should do, that night. They're like, and then Jack O'Lantern is like, well, I heard a lot of ideas, and my best one is let's bake a cake. The best one I heard was let's bake a cake. And Xander's like, okay. And so they head off to get some supplies to bake a cake. And what are those supplies, James? What are they buying? Well, I should say, where do they go?
I was going to say, we don't know what they've bought yet, but they go to a hardware store.
Oh, and they're not buying anything, FYI.
Right. They break into a hardware store. So yeah. I don't think they're getting stuff to make a cake.
No, I didn't think so either. Apparently, and we don't know this yet, so I won't give it away yet, but they come out with a whole bunch of stuff, and Xander spots Willow coming out of the magic shop, and so he goes up to talk to her while the guys are in there robbing. Which I was like, as soon as they got out of the car and threw that can through the window, why didn't you fucking put that bitch in gear and be like, right? Fuck this, I ain't part of this.
I'm not doing crime.
Yeah, but he's so scared, he just sits there until Willow comes up. Then he gets out of the car to go talk to her. And basically she doesn't give him any info either about what's going on because they don't want him involved. And she's like, anyway, I got to get back because Buffy really needs this stuff. And he's like, okay. And then she hugs him and says she loves him. And he's like, she wants me. And no. They come out with their stuff, which we still don't know what it is, but they put it all in the back of the car. And Jack O'Lantern discovers that Xander wants to leave because he wants to go figure out what his friends are doing and help them and be a part of that. And they're like, Bob is like, well, he doesn't feel like he's part of the group because we haven't initiated him. See, this is why I say that I think this has all happened to all of them before, because this is part of an because they say this is the initiation to be part of the group, is that you have to be killed. This is why I thought, okay, well then they've all been through this before. Okay. So yeah, Jack O'Lantern pulls out his knife and he says, "You gotta die," and Xander.
But so I don't think so because since we're talking about this scene, I'll just talk about it. Xander's all like, well, Jack's not dead, and Jack lifts up his shirt and we see that he's got bullet holes, and he says, and he says, a drive-by 3 weeks ago, my grandpappy raised me right away. And then in the scene where he raises Bob, he tells Bob, I told you my grandpappy had powerful magic or spells or something. So
they're let's just say they leave it very fucking murky as to whether this has been done. Like, if they should have just been like, well, yeah, this is what we do. We've been doing it for years. Or, hey, I found this and spell, and I don't know. Seems awfully fucking easy to raise a motherfucker from the dead, though, in this episode, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, why are there any dead people in Sunnydale if you can just go blah, 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 cut, blood, boom, they climb right out of it. And it seems like none of them are in a coffin. They're only like 3 inches below the ground because they just pop right up. But anyway, Xander's like, hell's to the nah, and he breaks free and runs, and they're chasing him. And he just does like this kind of a double back thing, gets back to the car, jumps in, fires it up, and peels the fuck out. And they're all like, no, our wheels are gone, man. And then they're like, and he took all of our stuff for the cake. And Jack-o'-lantern is like, well, the night is young, we'll just get more. So they just go back into the heart. There's no alarm, nothing, no police have shown up, and they're like, well, let's just go back in there and steal more stuff. So that's apparently what they do. Meanwhile, Xander is driving along, and who does he come across but Faith, who is fighting off a demon of one of these sisterhood, which are, and apparently they are very strong and they're very good fighters. So it's a close one. And he basically kind of, I wouldn't say he rescues her, but he kind of causes a little bit of a distraction, and they're able to skedaddle because Faith is having some trouble with this demon. And
he hits it with his car.
Yeah.
And mind you, through 2 accidents now, this car has sustained no damage.
Because they cannot afford to do any kind of damage work to this car.
That's right.
But so they dive in his car, like where he hits the demon, she dives in, they peel out of there, and they fly back to her, that crummy motel she stays in, and they get inside, and he's like, "Oh shit, you think she's still chasing us?" And I'm like, "You were in a car, and you've drove how far?" And yeah, I'm pretty sure you're good. And this scene, James, really didn't see it coming. All of a sudden, okay. First of all, Faith's shoulder has been dislocated. She's like, that bitch dislocated my shoulder, and she takes her jacket off and she's holding it, and she's like, hold me. And fucking, of course, Xander immediately goes to creep mode, and he's like, oh, okay. He's to start. And she's like, no, she's hold the shoulder, and then she, forces it and crunch. She's like, got it back in place. And then she's like, man, that was a rush. That was a hell of a fight, but I'm all riled up. She's like, but no kill. And it's clear at this point she wants a little bit of wang. So now tell me if I'm wrong. She's like rubbing on his chest and stuff, right? Like through his jacket and his shirt and whatnot. And he says, I'm up for it.
Right.
Okay.
She asks if he's up for it, and he says, I'm up for it.
He says, oh, I'm up for it. Now, tell me if I'm wrong. Of course, you don't see it on camera, but does she or does she not stick her hand in his pants and get a hold of the old cock and balls?
Yes.
Because then he says, oh, now I'm really up for it. And he's like, but I've never actually been up for it with other people.
Right.
And she immediately shuts him up. They start, heavy fucking petting and kissing and fucking shit. And then they're yanking each other's clothes off, and they fuck. She at one point throws him down on the bed on his back, and she dives on top of him, like straddles him. And she's like, don't worry, I'll guide you through the curves. So yeah, she manhandles him, takes his virginity. Well, we don't know that yet. Well, no, we do know it now because he had said. And then they're then we cut to them kind of laying in bed, kind of looking at each other, and it's like, oh, maybe this is going to be a new relationship or something. Well, what happens, James?
Okay, I'm glad you tossed it to me and you said that, maybe this is gonna be because so they've clearly had there's a camera shot like into the TV. Like you see them having sex. Obviously you don't see anything, but
Right.
they're clearly having sex. And then it cuts to, like Jeremy said, they're laying in bed and they're facing each other, and Faith is like kind of scooting closer to Xander, almost nuzzling him. And I was like, I almost wondered if the whole episode wasn't going to turn out to be some sort of weird like dream or something that Xander was having, because everything we know about Faith, like that's not Faith.
Yeah.
Like, and then almost as soon as I finished the thought, we cut to her throwing him out in his boxers, his clothes in hand, and she's like, "That was great. I got a shower," and she slams the door in his face.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, that's Faith."
That's Faith, right? And then he just looks all like, I don't know, like
Yeah.
like a lost puppy.
Yep.
So then he goes and gets in the car, and he discovers what they had gotten from the hardware store. I got a little bit of problems with this. One of the things he discovers is gunpowder. Have you ever been to a hardware store that sells gunpowder?
I mean, I'll be honest with you, Jeremy. I couldn't tell you the last time I was at a hardware store. Period.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a regular occurrence for me, but far as I know,
I'm wearing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle shirt. Do I look like a man that's handy to you?
well, what kind of handy we're talking about? No, but I know you can legally buy gunpowder. I know that because people have those machines that they can like make their own bullets and all that. I get that, but again, I have been in many hardware stores, and I am all the time. Don't think they sell gunpowder, but anyway, they have bought gunpowder, kerosene, which is clearly empty. The way he's handling it, this big metal thing, it's like, well, that's clearly fucking empty. But it's gunpowder, kerosene, some wires, etc. And then he realizes they're not making a cake, they're making a bomb. And I'm like, wow, thanks, Detective fucking Xander. So he decides to go back to the hardware store. And I'm thinking, why? They're gone by now. He pulls up there and he goes, long gone. And I'm like, that's what I just said, So he heads to Angel's mansion. I guess you can call it a mansion, dilapidated mansion,
Right.
trying to find Buffy.
Right. He says he needs Buffy will know what to do. So he
Right.
sets out to find
Buffy
Buffy
about this bomb situation. So he walks in on them. They're having this really deep argument about facing this situation that they're going to be dealing with that night. And he's saying, he wants to basically, he's saying, I'll sacrifice myself to give you the time you need to. And she's like, no, that's not happening. You're not dying. If you're not going to do this my way, then you're not going to be part of this. And that's when Xander's like, oh, hey guys.
Right.
And they both turn to him and they're just like, they literally just stare at him like, what? Right. And he's like, well, I guess this isn't the best time. And Buffy's like, yeah, no, it's not. And he just turns around.
She doesn't even say anything. There's no.
She just goes, like, no, it's not.
Yeah. This scene, it before Xander interrupts, like it's a very intense scene.
It's like one of those 5 scenes.
It
like,
ranks.
Oh shit, SMG
ranks up there with SMG and David Boreanaz's scenes. It is intense. There's that the watery eyes. It's the she's like, you might be ready to die, but I'm not ready to lose you. And they exchange the I love yous. It's a fucking intense scene.
Yeah.
And then Xander's just like, hey guys.
Hey. And they're just like, really? So he leaves and he's like, he gets back in the car and he's driving. And he's like, okay, Giles. I'll go to Giles. Giles will know what to do. So as he's driving, he turns a corner and who does he see but the group of dudes walking down the street ahead of him. So he gets a brilliant idea. He drives kind of like, he pulls up to him and he slows down and they're like, oh, our wheelman's back, sweet. And the one guy starts to go up and Xander grabs him and then floors it. And he's dragging him basically. And he's questioning him and also jerking him off under. You can't see that on camera though. No, he's questioning him, where's the bomb? Blah, blah, blah. He gets the answers and he goes, all right, I've got one more question. And this one, you better hope that this one's right. And then he hits a mailbox and the fucking dude's head rips off. And he's like, oh, and he drops the fucking body. And what does he say? Like, note to self, maybe you're talking too much or something like that.
He's like, I should have left out that whole middle part.
Yeah, yeah. So, he knows it's in the high school in the boiler room. The guy told him that. So he books that way. The dudes that are still running behind the car, chasing it, they're like, he's headed towards the school. Get him. And I'm like, how do you fucking know he's headed toward the school? Because he's headed in that general direction. But anyway, let's see. Yeah, he heads off and they pursue him. And then we cut to the library. Or no, we don't. Now, this part of my notes, I know I have fucked up because I was going back through them earlier and I tried to, and I was like, wait a minute, how did I? So you better do this next part.
Well, we already knew that the bomb was in the boiler room of the school because.
Well, but I'm saying Xander didn't know it.
Right. Well, what library part are you talking about? Because you skipped the library part. So I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. My notes are fucked.
Okay, but now I'm lost because.
We'll just pick up where you would like to pick up.
Okay.
Because that's all I can really tell you.
Well,
like Xander gets to the school at that point. You can just take it from there.
Okay, well, we missed the scene where we saw Willow and Giles in the library preparing a spell.
Yeah.
And
I didn't miss it. I just kind of.
So we're at the school and we cut to the library and we see that the Hellmouth is opened and a demon has started to emerge.
It's giant, tentacled looking thing. And I'm like, hold up. So the fucking library is basically destroyed at this point. Like the whole floor is just destroyed for this thing to come up through. But nobody's going to notice this in the next day, I guess. I don't
know. It's emerged from the Hellmouth and Giles says it's grown. The zombie gang splits up in the school to look for Xander. Bob finds him, but Xander manages to push a vending machine on top of him, killing him again. Dickie comes up and sees what's happened, and Xander starts to give like a cool monologue, and Dickie ends up running away, and that's when Xander's like, note to self, less talking.
Yeah.
Xander chases him down a hallway, and they both come running back from the direction they were running, being chased by 3 of the J demons. Xander kind of ducks off, and they chase Dickie into a room, and they kill Dickie.
They eat Dickie.
They eat him. At that point, one of the demons from the library's heads busts through the wall, and Xander takes off to the boiler room.
Okay,
Um,
pause. This is where we see the door, the basement door.
And for the first time in fucking Sunnydale High School history, the basement door is fucking locked.
And it has a sign on it that it's never had on it before.
No, it's always had that sign on it.
I've never seen that sign before.
Yeah, it's
Really?
always been a yeah.
Oh. Huh. I've never noticed a sign before, because it says basement locked at all times, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And I'm like, bullshit, the basement's always unlocked. Literally always. There's
Yeah.
not even a lock on the door.
Yeah, no, that sign's always been there. That's always been part of the ongoing gag. Like, that's not even locked, and it's labeled. Like, it's not like it's just a random door. You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
remember there always being a thing that said like basement, but I don't remember this sign being there that says it's like a warning sign that
Yeah.
says basement. I don't remember that at all.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, so here we go at the one time and it's locked.
Yeah. So Xander ends up in the boiler room and he sees the bomb and it's got less than 2 minutes on it. And Jack comes in and they fight and
Then they make out. It's really
this
weird.
is uh it's kind of intercut with a scene. We flash back to the library and we see Buffy, Angel, Faith, Giles, Willow. They're all attacking this demon that's coming out of the Hellmouth. And we're back with Xander and Jack, and Xander gets control of the fight, and you know, Xander's like, I know what you're thinking. Can I get past him and up the stairs and out of the building before it blows? And um, Jack's like, I'm not afraid to die. I'm already dead. And Xander's like, well, but this won't be the same. If you get blown up, it's not a drinking beer with your buddies kind of dead. It's a small pieces getting swept up by the janitor.
Yeah. And I'm like, wait, why would the janitor? The size of that fucking bomb would level half that neighborhood. I'm like, there would be no janitor sweeping up shit.
Yeah, and Jack's kind of like, he tells Xander, if it blows, he'll die too. And Xander's just kind of shrugs it off, and Jack ends up disconnecting the bomb with like 2 seconds to spare. Then Xander leaves and he tells Jack, he's like, I don't think I want to be seeing you around campus anymore. And then he leaves, and Jack starts to head towards another door, and he's like, I'm not going anywhere. And, the next time I see you, and of course, Xander's gone by now. But Jack opens the door and gets attacked by werewolf Oz.
Like, pretty much eaten.
Yeah. So we cut to the next day, and Buffy and Willow and Oz are at a picnic table in the quad, and they're all pretty banged up and bruised. And Giles' hand is all wrapped, and he's got scratches.
Buffy's fucking
on
like
his
has like a
face.
broken arm.
Buffy's got her arm in a sling, and they're talking about how no one will. Willow says she'll never forget the demon's real face, and Buffy says that Giles did, the bravest thing she's ever seen, and they're talking about how
we need to see this. We needed to see all of this fight to see what the fuck they're talking about.
And they're like, no one will ever know, how close what we did or how close the world came to ending. And then Xander comes up, and they're like, "Oh, you're lucky you weren't at school last night." And he doesn't say anything about what he went through. And he says he's going to get a snack and asks if anyone wants anything, and he asks Oz specifically, and Oz is like, "No, I'm oddly full today." And we know it's because he ate Jack.
Yeah.
He's walking away, and Cordelia approaches him and starts to try and bust his balls again, and he just kind of gives her a smile and walks past her without saying anything, which clearly gets her goat.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, as he's walking away, she's just like, what? And that's the end of our episode.
It is. It is.
So it is. Jeremy.
Yes, James J.
Wait, no, I'm sorry. How about sorry, I'm a little out of the loop here.
That's combobulated.
Just combobulated. How about a little there's another goof in that final scene with Xander and Jack.
Okay.
It's not a goof that's exclusive to Buffy. This happens in scenes like this all the time. But every time they show the bomb timer, it's fluctuating times.
Yeah.
The first time they show it, it's at 10 seconds, and then it cuts back. It cuts away and cuts back, and then it's at 13 seconds, and then it cuts away and cuts back, and it's down to 7 seconds.
Yeah.
So
has to give them a little time to do their
right.
exposition.
Right. So just a little goof there, but like I said, I'm pretty sure that happens in every scene in every TV show or movie where a bomb is featured.
Oopsie.
Right. So how about a little monsterology, Jeremy?
Okay.
The Sisterhood of J, created by our writers, completely fabricated by them. The zombies in this episode aren't like the zombies we saw back in season 3, episode 2, Dead Man's Party. Mm-hmm. They're actually more akin to what Giles described zombies as being like all the way back in season 2, episode 2, Some Assembly Required. Then we have the spirit guides that Giles tries to consult. Those tend to be fairly typical in these kind of shows, and seem pretty similar to the Oracle of Delphi from Greek mythology. And then, of course, we have the demon coming out of the Hellmouth, which is, in fact, the same demon that was coming out of the Hellmouth back when it opened in Season 1, Episode 12, Prophecy Girl.
And we only saw, I think, one tentacle at that point.
No, we saw a couple tentacles. And
that's right, because it went out and grabbed a few different people at once. Yeah.
Our body count this episode is actually pretty extensive. We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bodies this episode.
Yeah, baby.
Our music.
Love a good body count.
Our music this week is G-Song. G-Song by Supergrass from the album In It for the Money, released by EDM Capitol Records in 1998.
In It for the Money, yo.
And
that's not how it goes.
And Easy by Tricky Woo from the album Enemy Is Real, released by Sonic Union Records in 1998. And that is all. So Jeremy.
Yes, Ames J.
Why don't you give me your final thoughts and tell me your rating of this episode out of how many open Hellmouths?
3 open Hellmouths.
3 open Hellmouths.
Not a terrible episode by any. Oh God, have we had some stinkers? I don't know. There's not a lot to say. It is what it was. You know, it seemed like it was definitely. This seemed like one of those episodes that was I shouldn't say definitely because I don't know, but it seems like one of those episodes that was a budget, like a budget saving episode. You know, we're going to have limited you know, we're going to use all of our standard sets, yada, yada. Obviously, they wanted to focus on Xander, which I don't think Xander has had a Xander-centric episode.
The pack.
Well, the pack, yeah, but yeah, that's true. But I don't know. Whatever, they wanted to focus on Xander, and this is weird because they don't really, as I recall, now this is just my memory going, but I don't recall that they really carry this forward as far as his, them wanting to keep him out of harm's way, and like it just seems to go back to just the way it always was.
It's odd in that respect, going both ways. Up until this point, they've never showed an interest in keeping him out of the fray.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
they're worried about him,
and not after
this either.
Yeah.
Now, I can excuse it to a certain extent, looking at it from this episode and before.
Mhm.
Like, okay, so it's finally at the beginning of this episode they realize, like, well, Xander's not really much help in these situations, so we need to keep him out of it. But you're right, it doesn't seem to play out going forward.
It's not mentioned. It just everything just seems to go back to always the way it always was.
Right.
So yeah, that's weird. So it's there's some plot holes here and there. So that's what makes it a 3. It's definitely not a bad episode. It's kind of fun in places. If I saw it on TV, it's a 50-50 if I stop to watch it or not. But yeah, nothing major to say about it. That's all I got to say about that.
Okay, before you ask me, I'm going to read this to you. This is what I was talking about before with the losing virginities.
Okay.
Xander is the penultimate member of the current Scooby Gang formation to have sex. While Giles is overall implied, Oz is established as already having had sex. He mentions it in amends.
Right.
Cordelia implies to have lost her virginity as well in Bad Eggs. And Buffy lost her virginity in Surprise.
Right. We know that.
So
I'll have to go back to Bad Eggs and check that out. So James.
Yes, sir.
Give us your final thoughts on the episode. And tell me how many awkward sex scenes do you give this episode out of a possible 5?
I give this episode 4 awkward sex scenes.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie to you, it was almost a 5.
Wow.
It was almost a 5. But I found enough, like, with it that I was able to bump it down. But yeah, it overall it's a 4. I love, and I don't think we did a good job conveying it here and revisiting it. So if you haven't watched the episode, anybody that's listening, please watch the episode to understand. I love the fact that it is not obvious, but it seems to me like, and this is the intention of the episode, it seems to me like they gave the core cast members, except Xander, a completely different script.
Right?
to do.
Right?
And then gave Xander and these outlying peripheral characters a different script.
Right.
And filmed 2 different episodes and then merged them together for this episode.
Right.
And that's 100% the intention.
Yeah, it's cool, but it's definitely like off-putting at first. You're like, what?
And it works. Like, I think the perfect example of that is the aforementioned scene between Buffy and Angel.
Mm-hmm. And the scene at the end when they're all sitting around and they're beating the fucking pulps.
Right.
And they're like, whoa, what we just went through. And you're like, well, normally we see everything. Right. And this time you don't. And you're just like, damn.
Like, and I don't know that that's what they did. I would think for budget reasons, that's not what they did. Yeah. But in my mind, I love the idea that they handed SMG and Allison and Eliza, so on and so forth, one script that was pretty much sans Xander, and then they handed Xander or Nicholas and everyone else another script that was pretty much sans the main cast, and like went off and shot 2 different episodes and then edited them together.
What would have really been cool, of course, playing hindsight.
I think I know what you're gonna say, and I hope it's what I think you're gonna say, because it was what I was gonna say next. Please go ahead.
As if they had shot both of them like it's with 2 different crews,
and then the
next episode they showed it from the Scooby Gang's aspect.
Yeah,
that would have been dope.
That's 100% what I was gonna say next. I think it would have been awesome if the next episode had been the episode that everyone else filmed or went through. Sans,
and you're only seeing Xander like 4 times come and go, and you're like,
and you're like, why are they doing this?
These episodes would have gotten 5s for me, because that
100%, 100%. And when I said at the beginning of this that I found enough things to not make this a 5, that's the thing.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's 100% like a hindsight thing. But if the producers, writers, directors, and everything had been on their game, that's 100% what they would have done.
Yeah.
100% they would have done. And just for that reason alone, like you just said, this episode and that subsequent episode, immediate 5s for the fucking creativity.
Oh yeah.
Alone.
Yeah. And he's very creative, because he does some very cool things throughout the rest of this show and Angel. So, but little swing and a miss. Then again, it could have, maybe he did think about it, but it was just budgetary constraints wouldn't allow it to take place. But
because you're talking
been phenomenal.
Because you're talking, the
double shooting basically. With
2 crews and everything, shooting during the same time.
I bet he could have done something. He probably could have got away with something like this in season 6 or 7, because at that point, this show plus Angel were established as like the king. They were top-notch shows on this network. So
but yeah, overall, it's not a bad episode. For being a Xander-centric episode, I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
I really was prepared. I remembered it. I haven't seen this episode in ages. I remembered it being a Xander-centric episode, and I was convinced I was going to leave it absolutely hating it because of that. But I didn't. I quite enjoyed it. It's not a must-see. I wouldn't put it on anybody's list, of episodes to show anybody. If it's on TV though, I would probably stop and give it a watch.
I still say the sex scene is weird and out of nowhere. Like, these two have never been shown. Well, he's always, because he's a horn dog, but I don't know. It just seems so weird, and it seems, if they're going to do that, it just seems like this is a weird episode to do it in. I don't know.
So it didn't seem that out of place for me, because we already know, based on what Faith has said herself, that having that physical confrontation without the kill gets her engine going. That's a step. Like, Faith herself has said that. So it didn't really seem that out of place to me. And we know Faith is very much the type that's like, she's gonna take advantage of the situation she's in currently.
Of a poor virgin boy. A poor innocent virgin boy.
Right. So
any other final thoughts about the episode?
Nope, that's it.
No? Okay. Well, James, did you know that you can email us at buffyrevisited@gmail.com?
Shut your fucking mouth.
I swear to Doge.
What?
Yes.
What?
You can literally email. Okay, everyone, James has been shot with a trank dart. and he is currently being taken to a different location. Oh, he's back. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, Buffy Revisited gmail.com, Buffy Revisited .com, our
That'll-
Facebook.
Yeah, that'll give you links to the Facebook, to the YouTube, if you would like to.
everything.
If you would like to watch the video version of the podcast, that's where you can find it at YouTube. You can leave us comments on YouTube, leave us comments on Facebook. We will address them as we did with Darlene's at the beginning of this episode. Those comments I really like to see because it gives us a chance
Something to dig into from the
to
previous week.
to dig into from the previous week. Kind of add some maybe further thoughts that we didn't think to add when we were revisiting the episode, and maybe give us a chance to answer some questions you guys might have about the episode or about anything we said while we were revisiting the episode. Those 100% the comments like Darlene left on last week's episode are really what we really like to see and dig into. Yeah, check us out on all those places.
That, my friend, is real talk.
100.
100. All right. Well, next week we are going to be digging into season 3, episode 14, Bad Girls. Oh my, what could that be about?
I don't
Werewolves.
know, but I can tell you for certain that it is the episode that changes the course of the season.
And somewhat, you could almost say the course of the show. In a for at least a pretty good chunk of time.
Yeah.
But anyway, is there anything left you would like to say, James?
No,
Legion of fans.
No, we need to wrap this up because we're at over 3 hours now. This is our
No,
long. Huh?
We're at 2 hours 11 minutes.
3 hours since we started talking.
Yeah. All right. Well, with all that being said, I have been one of your hosts. I am Jeremy.
I'm your other host, James.
Ta-ta.